Welcome to AnnexedDinnerTable Reviews. I'm Cassandra.
And I'm Devin.
And today we're going to be looking at Trismegistus. This game is going to be a collection game of sorts where you are going to have your player board and you are collecting resources which are different metals. So you got iron, mercury, gold, silver, and then through transmutation, you're going to be able to change one into the other. Ultimately, gold is the highest thing that you can get, and then you can spend your resources to play these wonderful like potion cards, and those at the end of the game will get you victory points. There's dice that you're using for your movements and for your turns, I guess would be a better way to phrase it, and that those dice really are everything. They're going to tell you how many turns you're going to get, what things you can do during your turns. So choosing the right dice is really important. That's the main gist of the game. I really enjoyed it. I think it was super fun and tight. You were really fighting against those dice and what you can do versus what you want to do, and going, there's just not enough turns, and really trying to find the strategy that best suits you with what you're given and the limited turns that you have.
For sure. I think the dice mechanic is actually interesting, drafting these dice and being able to, the number of dice that are in the pool, using that as your turn marker per round, and then, being able to do that. But you're right, some of the starting cards, you might not get the roll of the dice and the elements you need in order to actually achieve that goal.
Yeah. I do think that with the dice, it gets a little bit more difficult at higher player counts because you start with, I think it's 5 of each, and then when you go down to 3 players, you remove one, and then with 2, you remove another. Well, every player gets to draft 3 dice per round, and there are 3 rounds. So at those 4 player, you're really vying for those early dice and trying to get ones that give you more turns, and it just gets a lot. If you're at that higher number turn order, it just gets more difficult.
Yeah, and then balancing the different aspects of the dice. How many turns you get is only one aspect. You also have the color of the dice, which tells you what you can transmute on your turn, and then you also have which cards you can draft and based off of what you select also. So you really have to sometimes sacrifice the number of turns you can get in a round in order to get that specific dice that you need.
Yeah. I thought that was really fun. The other mechanic, which was this tracker.
Yeah.
So every single time that you transmute, you also have to give an essence, and you can't play your potion cards until you're at a certain point in that tracker. So you're also trying to balance that, and that's another thing that those dice can give you. And so you really are it's balance, and one small move can make it feel like you're just spinning out of control. Even if, end of game, you're still ending up pretty good, you just feel like, oh, how could I have missed that one thing that was just going to turn it all around?
For sure. And I will say this game does have a little bit of a rough start. You the first round or so, you're doing a lot of accumulation without a lot of results. So you're planning and building up your resources so that in the second and third round you can really start to move on those things. But it's a lot of planning and preparing and hoping everything works out in the future rounds.
Yeah, and you flip the little things at the top, and those can give you special abilities and extra boosts, but they're randomized. So sometimes you're like, if I get a chameleon, I'm good, and you get, +1 on a tracker, and it's just like, well, I'm still okay, but I could have been super well off. So,
and then the additional balance of being able to use the tiles on to kind of build towards these other bonuses on the player boards is also really nice. And you can really start, that's when you really start in the second and third round to start seeing really big, powerful moves, is when you can start to complete that tracker.
Yeah. But overall, I thought that it was really unique, the overall theme, this, like, transmutation and alchemical transmutations was just interesting. I hadn't seen that before, and I thought that it was done really well in this game. Do you?
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I would say that this is on a higher end of skill level. This is definitely not a gateway game. This is something that you're going to want to have some experienced players when you're playing with them. And like I said, it is a little bit of a rocky start, so you have to kind of play through to learn the game a little bit, because it is a little bit more dense on that end.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. The first time that we played it, it definitely was one of those, like, are we doing this right? It doesn't feel like you're doing enough. You really have to play it a couple different times in order to find that balance and be able to go, no, this is what I should be doing, or this is better than this, and you're just like, but yeah, it does take a couple plays to really find that, and those first ones can be really anticlimactic and kind of dejecting when you're just like, I don't feel like I did anything right.
And it comes down to this being able to, you play through the entire first round and really haven't accomplished anything, and you can't see the payoff, and that's a third of the game. So when you really have to get through the second and third rounds in order to really get to see where, the cause and effect of your actions that you took in the first round land in the second and third round. And that's kind of, you get to the first round, and you're like, we can't be playing this right, there should be more happening, and no, it just happens in the second and third rounds.
Yeah.
So.
I would say that one thing that I thought that it was lacking a little bit, and maybe you agree, was like art. It wasn't very, it just didn't have great art that drew you in.
Yeah, it's a little simplistic on the end, on the art end, but yeah, overall, it doesn't detract from the play of the game. It's just one of those factors that, I look for a lot, is the quality of the art, and it's very simplistic. It's very clip arty in that regard. But it doesn't detract from the game, play at all. Yeah.
But we really liked it. Definitely a heavier game to get into, so you're going to want to probably play with a little bit more experienced players, or go into it knowing that it's dense. There's a lot of rules that you have to kind of remember and keep track of, all those different things that the dice can do, and what you can do on other players' turns. So you're just really having to remember a lot, keep track, and plan ahead a lot also. So it's definitely a heavier game to play. But
yeah, and in that regard, I would say the age range is probably a little bit higher than most games. This one's probably you're gonna want a 14 plus type age range, because just playing it is it takes a little bit of concentration and a focus to get past that first round, because there is a little bit of just grindiness of the first round that you have to get over in order to get into the second and third round.
And it's one of those games that you can't just play. You really need that strategy in order to play it, or else you'll just be kind of monotonously collecting resources. So I definitely think that you're right. 14 plus is really where you need to be doing it. I will say the instruction manual was fairly decent. It gave you all of the places that you needed things were clearly marked. So if you were confused during the game, it was super easy to go, what are my actions, and flip to the actions and go, okay, it's this, this, and this. And so that was really nice as we played it. And so yeah, this was Trismegistus from Board and Dice. Super fun one, on the heavy end. Thank you for watching.